This video is mostly a response to a guy who made a video response to my first Educated Lame video. I've got a lot to say, so I'm going to jump right into it because I don't want this video to get super long. The first thing I want to say is that I said in my video that women's preferences in men are based in biology, and you didn't disagree with that. So just put a little pin in that. That's important. We'll come back to that later. Next thing I want to say is that I didn't say that educated lame men necessarily couldn't get women. Like I said in my first video, some of them just have big egos, and their real problem is that they can't get the women that they want. Because for every black educated lame, there's his black female counterpart. So wouldn't it make sense for these two groups to get together? Why don't they get together? Well, it's because the men don't want those women. They think they're too good for them, or they think they're not pretty enough, which is basically the same thing. They think they're too good for them. Put a pin in that. Next thing I want to talk about is we're in the black corner of YouTube, so it's going to be assumed that any video we make is talking about black people. That is true, but in this situation, what we're talking about is actually universal. In every race, there are men and women who are least desired. For the women, it's usually those who are not very pretty, and the men, it's usually those who don't have the big three. That is personality, looks, or money. You even said in your video around the 6:20 mark and the 10-minute mark at the 6:20 mark you said attraction is universal. And then at the 10-minute mark you said if that man is physically unattractive to one group, he should be unattractive to another group. And I say exactly. So the question is, why are unattractive black men, that is black men who don't have the big three or don't have enough of it, why would these men be attractive to women of other races? Because like you said, if a man is physically unattractive to one group, he should be unattractive to another group. So assuming that it is true that these men are attractive to women of other races, which I will assume it is true for the sake of this argument, we want to know why. Let's back up for a minute. This narrative of the educated lame being overlooked when he's young, but then later on in life, he's approached by women who would not have wanted him when he was young. And the only reason they do want him now is because they've been burned by the men with the big three. They've got kids out of wedlock, and now they're not in their prime anymore. They're not so cute anymore. So they expect these educated lames to accept secondhand goods and take care of the children they made with other men. Black men do not own that narrative. There are white men who are saying the exact same things. Many of them are MGTOWs and true force loneliness guys.
Why women don't like nice guys. Going back to the roots of humanity, women are attracted and would want to make babies with strong, fit, and aggressive men. Because it allows offspring to survive. Fast forward to modern times. It still does not change. Women likes the bad boys and criminals because it signals to them that these men are aggressive, strong, and will make strong babies. If you are a nice guy trying to attract a woman, you don't attract a woman by being nice and chivalrous. It actually has the opposite effect and will end you in the friend zone. Women don't feel any sexual attraction to nice gestures. Even if they say they do. Women will continue to do this and will waste her prime years chasing the bad boys. And when these women hit the wall, and are now unable to attract the bad boys, they will come for the nice guys to take care of them. And their 10 kids from different bad boy fathers.
Alright, I know this guy used an electronic voice, but I'm fully confident this guy is white. But anyway, if you guys are familiar with Tom Lakis, he said the exact same thing that was said in the electronic voice video. I just couldn't find a video clip of him saying it. But trust me, he said it. Tom Lakis is white, by the way, and the majority of men who call into his show are white. And they're complaining about white women just like black guys complain about black women. So, a lot of these lame white guys are just like the black guys. They can get women, just not the women they want. And just like black guys, these white guys have white female counterparts. Again, they don't want them. They are too good for women who are not attractive. Alright, so put a pin in that too. Next point. I'm sure you're aware that there's a racial hierarchy in our society. Well, screw society, our whole world. This hierarchy puts whites and or Jews at the top, and then all the non-black races somewhere in the middle, and then blacks at the bottom. A lot of white MGTOWs are fed up with white women. However, if they were to shift down on the racial hierarchy, they could get non-white women who are more attractive than the white women they can get. Plus, a lot of those women, be they black, Latina, or Asian, will have an appreciation for his whiteness. It just is what it is. I've already demonstrated this in one of my other videos. Some of these men do take advantage of the racial hierarchy and do just what I said. They shift down and they're able to get more attractive women. However, some of them don't want to do that. They want white women, so they go down on a different hierarchy, and I'll get back to that in a minute, so just put a pin in that. But anyway, because of this hierarchy, white men and white women walk around with the belief that their whiteness is an asset that evens certain playing fields. This is why you can have a busted white chick like Lena Dunham upset because fine-ass Odell Beckham wasn't looking at her. It's like she has no concept that a black guy could be out of her league. I don't know if you've heard of Captain Solo, but I know you've heard of Sergeant Willie Pete. We don't know what Sergeant Willie Pete looks like, but we do know what Captain Solo looks like. He's very, very, very attractive. Both Cap and Sergeant Willie Pete have told stories of how they've been approached by very mediocre or even ugly, unattractive white women, and these white women really expected Cap and Sergeant Willie Pete to go for them. These white women wouldn't have had the chutzpah to approach a white guy who was as attractive as Captain Solo. But she'll approach attractive black guys with the mentality that, yes, you're an attractive black guy, but I'm white, so that's equal. Fair trade. So anyway, just like white men can shift down on the racial hierarchy and pull more attractive women than they can white women can shift down and do better as well. So my first answer to your question of why educated lame black men may be attractive to women of other races is because educated lames are the best those other women could do. Next point, you talked about this group of Danish white women who specifically like educated lame black men. And you made it a point to say educated lame black men and not just black men in general. Well, I personally would like to see some evidence that they specifically like the lames. I know they wouldn't actually use that word, but I'd like to see some evidence that they're talking about less desirable black men and not just black men in general. Because if they're just talking about black men in general, I believe you. I don't believe that they're specifically looking for the lame ones. But for the sake of argument, let's just say that they are. These Danish women love lame black men. Well, that proves nothing, and I'll tell you why. Of all the races of men, Asian men are the least sought after men, just like black women are the least sought after women. Yet, there are pockets of Asian-file women who absolutely love Asian men. A swagnificent, beautiful chocolate brother wouldn't do nothing for them, and a dreamy, blonde-haired, blue-eyed white man wouldn't do anything for them. And neither would a sexy Latin lover. Also, there are men who specifically like morbidly obese women. They call themselves fat admirers, or they say they have a fat fetish, or whatever else. Okay, what's my point with bringing up all these groups? Well, just because a certain group has fans doesn't make that group universally attractive. Pick any phenotype or any appearance you want. There will be people who are attracted to it. That doesn't change that group's overall popularity in the grand scheme of things. That just means they have some fans. Everything has some fans. So my second answer as to why educated lame black men may be attractive to women of other races, because they're fans. Fan groups don't count. I can't use the men who are attracted to morbidly obese women to make the argument that obese women are universally attractive to every man. Next point, you talked about my genetic cousin in Africa and women around the world accepting educated lames just the way they are. Well, just like the racial hierarchy, there is a world hierarchy. There are first world countries. I don't really hear much about second world countries, but anyway, there are definitely third world countries. And the hierarchy is built right into the terms, first world, third world. Any American who has traveled abroad, be they black, white, or whatever, can attest that non-Americans are very adoring of Americans, especially those in the third world. And they have certain positive stereotypes about us, like we're all rich. Alright, so remember earlier in my video I told you to put a pin next to white men who can't attract the white women they want, but they don't want to go lower on the racial hierarchy. Well, there's another hierarchy that they can go down on and still get white women. They can go to a third world country. A lot of American men go looking for wives in Russia because they can get attractive white women that they can't get in America. Now, technically, Russia isn't a third world country. However, there are a lot of Russian women who want out of Russia and they would love to come to the United States or the UK or whatever. Alright, so you've got this 40-year-old guy who in this country wouldn't be able to attract a 25-year-old woman of any appearance, regardless of how she looks. Yet, he can go over to, say, Brazil, and he pulls this smoking hot 25-year-old Brazilian mommy, and you want us to believe it's because she sees qualities in you that us American women are too dumb to see. You can't be serious.
Greetings from Russia. What do you think about marriage between a Russian woman and a black man? Is it fantastic? No, this is reality, because some Russian women want to marry black men. There are several reasons. Firstly, many provincial girls just want to leave Russia. They have no future and prospects in a small town. They need a foreigner from the economically developed countries. Nationality and skin color doesn't matter. Desperate Russian women want to get married for the sake of citizenship and a sustainable future for her children. Accordingly, if you're a black man from the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, or New Zealand, the Russian bride will flirt with you. But if you're a black man from Kenya, Uganda, and Cameroon, this Russian girl will not interested in you. Nothing personal.
So these women around the world can see your true worth, and it has nothing to do with you potentially being their ticket to a better life. Okay, you can't get women like that over here, but you go over there and you can, and it has nothing to do with anything but your good qualities. Okay. So, my third answer to your question is really? Next point. There are some educated lame black guys who are able to attract women of other races who are pretty decent looking. Why is that? Well, I think it's because they ride the coattails of black men who have the big three, especially swag. When women of other races see these educated lame black men, they see a black guy, so they assume he's like the other ones she's attracted to. They may not recognize at first glance that he's lame. It's just like there's a stereotype that black guys have big penises. Well, of course, some of them don't. However, the ones that don't can ride the coattails or take advantage of the stereotype that all black men do have big penises. And the women, just by looking at them, can't tell who has a big one and who doesn't. It's also like if you go abroad and you're an American, a lot of people are going to assume that you're rich just because you're American. And it's not until they get to know the person that they realize, hey, you're not rich and you don't have a big penis. And you are not like the black guys I see on TV. So my question would be, when that realization comes about, are these educated lame men keeping these women? Just a question. I don't know the answer. But if they are keeping these women, is it because these women are also women who didn't have any better options? Now, to be fair, it could be that this non-black woman would not have initially been attracted to this black guy if she knew how he really was, but once she got to know him, she fell in love with him and accepted him as is. So that's a possibility. But like I said, I think the majority of educated lames who do get some of the nicer women it's because they rode the coattails of the stereotypes about black men. Last point. The last reason I want to cover as to why educated lames may be able to attract women of other races is the something new factor. Women of other races are going to be fascinated by quote-unquote new things that black women are used to. We're used to them because we see them every day or because we have these characteristics ourselves. My hometown is Memphis, and when I lived there, I used to pass by Graceland every day, and I was none too impressed because I see it every day. However, when I took a vacation up to St. Louis and I saw the Ark, I was impressed. But the people in St. Louis feel the same way about the Ark as I do about Graceland. That said, after a while, something new is no longer going to be new. So, as I said before, when that realization comes about, are these educated lame men keeping these women once they're no longer new and mysterious anymore? It's just a question. I don't know the answer. But if they are keeping these women, are these the women who don't have any better options? Now, to be fair, it could be that once okay, I already said that. You get the point. Alright, I'm going to end this video with evidence of the things I'm saying. In general, black men are very attractive men, either physically or personality-wise or both. But not all of you are. And you guys can sit there and make up your own reasons as to why you attract women of other races, but the real answer comes from the women themselves, not you. So, I did a search on YouTube for terms that would bring up videos by non-black women saying why they like black men. I watched these videos and I discovered a pattern. Their reasons broke down into two major groups. The first group is women who said things like men of their own race called them fat or ugly, but black men praised them. And the other category was non-black women who liked the same things about black men that black women like. The swagger, the confidence, the good looks, beautiful skin, stuff like that. Beautiful non-black women who hop the fence are going to go to the black men who have the big three. And these are the most desirable black men. These are men who have good physiques, men who are charismatic, men who are facially attractive, and men who are rich. Since these women are beautiful, it makes sense that they get the most desirable men regardless of the race. That's a biological fact, which you didn't disagree with. I believe a few educated lames benefit from the trickle-down effect, which is that non-black women assume that these black men have the big three like the other black men they've seen, and these educated lame black men manage to snag this girl's heart before she gets away. There are exceptions to every rule. Sometimes the lame guy does get the girl. But for the majority of educated lame black men, they're getting the women who shifted down on the racial hierarchy, who couldn't get any better men within their own race. How do I know this? Because that's how the world works. Choice men get choice women. Non-choice men get what's left over. That's how it is in every other race and every other culture on the face of this earth. But you want us to believe that the rules don't apply for educated lame black men. Somehow they manage to skirt thousands of years of evolution and natural selection and biology to get the choice women when they're not the choice men. This doesn't happen. There are exceptions, yes, but exceptions don't disprove the rule. Every race has their undesirable people. Undesirable people generally don't get desirable people. That is human psychology, human biology, natural selection, human evolution, whatever you want to call it. Alright, I'm going to end this video. It's way longer than I wanted it to be, but oh well. I'm going to end my video with clips from non-black women saying why they themselves or other non-black women like black men. If you're going to accuse me of cherry picking, I urge you to do your own search. If you find any videos or articles from non-black women saying something different than what I found, and they were posted before my video, please show them to me. To be fair, there were 4 times when the women said something that didn't have to do with being rejected by men of their own race, and it didn't have anything to do with the typical things like swag and stuff like that. Two of the women said that black men stick up for their women. They don't allow anyone to disrespect their women. Another one talked about black men's spirituality. Or she might have just been talking about the guy she was with, I don't know. And finally, Kendra Wilkinson said that she can have a better conversation with black men than any others. But outside of that, the comments fell into two categories: the rejects and the women who like the same things black women like. I'm just going to play audio snippets, but links to the full videos will be down in the description box. Have a good one.